All right. So as usual, we are continuing our discussion with the graph theory. Okay, and in the last couple of lectures, we have been discussing some specific features related to graph theory. We first discussed graph isomorphism, sorry, and then what we started discussing yesterday was something called connectivity property, right? Uh, what is connectivity? How is it important? That's what we discussed yesterday. So in connectivity, like just to motivate the connectivity part, we saw that we discussed that given a network, okay, how do you ensure that there's a if I take the same example of computer network, how do I ensure that I can send a message from any node to any other node? Okay, to answer that question comes the notion of connectivity. Does there exist a path from the one device to another device where you want to send a message or not? If there exists a path, then in that case you're assured that your message can be delivered. But suppose the device does not have any edge which can eventually lead to it, then you cannot say that you can deliver the message in time, because there is no connectivity there. There's no edge which can help you to reach that place, right? So within this notion of connectivity, we discuss different terms and terminologies, right? We discuss something called a path, okay, which is basically sequence of edges. Okay, and in path we discussed there are two ways by which we can represent a path. It can either be represented as a edge sequence, or it can be represented as a vertex sequence. Okay, the vertices which are involved in the path, they can be mentioned. Okay, then in path we saw two specific versions. One was a simple path. So anyone recalls what is a simple path? And then we saw something called circuit. Anyone, what is a simple path? When do we say a path is a simple path? Yes, class? When do we say a path is a simple path? I hope I am audible. Okay. I am audible, right, class? Yeah. So please, as I said, today there is some network connectivity issue. So do reply back quickly. When no edge or vertex is repeated. Exactly. So when there is no repetition of an edge or a vertex, you say that the path is simple, right? And when do we say that it's a circuit? We say that it's a circuit if the starting vertex is same as the end vertex, right? So if your starting vertex is x0 is u, then your last vertex is also u. Okay, then you say it's a circuit, right? And along these parallel lines, we had another terminology to represent the same path, which was known as a walk. Okay, a walk is again a sequence of edges, but the difference is in terms of representation. How do we represent a walk? Anyone? How do we represent a walk? Yes, class, how do we represent a walk? Path we represent either as edge sequence or a vertex sequence. How do we represent? Very good, Ankita. It is an alternating sequence of edge and vertices. Okay, so that means suppose this is vertex u, so you have u, then the edge you take, that is e1, then suppose the vertex v, and so on. So it's an alternating sequence of edges and vertices, and equivalent to this we have terms. So in place of simple path we have simple walk, or what is it known as? What is the equivalent term in terms of walk if I want to consider those paths where there is no repetition of vertices or edges? What is that known as? Yes, class? What is that known as? It's known as a trail. Very good. Okay, and similarly, you have instead of circuit, you have a closed walk. Okay, both have same concepts. It's just that different books and different notion of representation, right? And after that, what we discussed was, if you have, when we have a graph, say G, when do we say it's a connected graph? Okay, so we say a graph is a connected graph if there exists a path between all pair of vertices, right? So if there is any disconnectivity in between. Such a graph is known as disconnected graph. And in such a graph, we try to search for components which are connected. Okay, and the largest component which is connected is known as the maximal connected component, and it is something of a very practical use, as we discussed yesterday in some of the applications. So all the practical networks which are modeled by graphs, they never are completely connected. They always have some disconnectivity. So in such kind of graphs, we always try to deal with the maximal connected component, or MCC, okay, for analysis as well as for other purposes. Right. So this was it that we roughly discussed in the last lecture. Any questions till this point? Yes, class. Any questions till this point? Okay. Now let us continue our discussion about connectivity itself, but we'll try to touch upon some different aspects of connectivity today. Okay. So again, as usual, we do it. Let's start with the motivation of why we are going to study what we are going to study about connectivity next. Okay, so suppose again we consider the same old motivational example of a computer network, okay, where the communication devices, whether it's end device or it's things like router and other communication devices, are connected in form of a graph. Okay, so the two devices have an edge if there is a communication link between them. So this is like our usual notion of computer network. Now, knowing that this graph is connected, what does it tell us? If I tell you that, hey, this is a computer network and this is a connected graph, what does it tell us? It tells us that any two computers on this network can communicate. That means if I need to send a message from PC A to PC B, I can do that. Okay, because how am I assured of that? I am assured of that because of the fact that there's a path, because I am saying that the graph is connected. And what does it mean for a graph to be connected? It means that any two computers on this network have a path between them, right? So if there is a path, so that means if I want to send anything, whether it may take a large time or not, but it will eventually reach it, because there exists a path which will help my data to go from one device to another device, right? But now, so all these questions we are able to answer with the terms that we discussed yesterday, like connected, disconnected, path, trial, closed path, and so on. Now, I want to add upon this, okay? What I want to ensure is, how reliable is this network? Okay, what do I mean by now reliable? What I mean by reliable is, suppose, so there is some router 1 and router 2, and suddenly the link between them fails. Okay, how reliable will the network remain without that link? Do you understand the question? So what I'm saying is, for instance, one of the computers in between, or one of the routers, one of the devices in between fails, right? How do you then measure the reliability of network? Can the network still deliver data for you? Okay, how do we answer those questions? Do you understand the motivation? So far we were discussing the ideal case where nothing is happening, and we were just trying to make sure that if I have to send data from any party to any other party, I'm just assured that I'll send it through, right? Now I'm adding little more complications. I'm saying that because it's all practical, right? Computer network is completely practical application. There's a chance that some link fails. You know, there's a link between two computers, or there's a link between a computer and a router, and it suddenly fails, right? How do we handle that? How do we parameterize that this network is reliable? You know, like I'll give you suppose two scenarios, scenario 1, and I give you a scenario 2. Okay. Okay. So these are two graphs. Which one do you think is more reliable? And you have to tell me why. Exactly, Dhananjay, but tell me in this context, which one do you think is reliable? Now you understand what do I mean by reliable, right? That if there's some link failure, I should still be able to, you know, carry out the data, data communication. So everyone agrees case 1 is more reliable. And if you say 1, why so? If you say 2, why so? So except Dhananjay, I want others to answer. If you say 1 is more reliable, how do you get that intuition that 1 is reliable? I didn't discuss it formally, that what do I mean by reliability yet. So how did you get that 1 is more reliable? What is the basis of your reasoning that 1 is more reliable and 2 is not? Yes? See, all this is practical, right? You need to relate to it and answer. Exactly. The reason being what Dhananjay had already pointed out and Ankit also pointed out, that the number of paths which exist between the roots are more. You have more options in this. So if this link goes down, I still have a way to reach R2, right? I still have a way to reach B. But in this case, if this link goes down, can I ever reach this node? Can I ever reach this node, class? If this link goes down? No, right? That is why, even though you didn't had any concept of formal concept what reliability was, but just based on this notion, you can directly say that this is more reliable than this clearly, because in this case, in the worst case, if this link goes down, then this becomes unreachable. Whereas in this case, if any one of the link goes down, there are still different approaches to reach the vertex. Okay, so with that notion, let's see what are the technical terms by which we can, manage this reliability factor. Okay, is this motivation clear? What we are trying to deal with? What is the problem at hand? Yes, class, is this clear to everyone? The motivation problem? Okay, great. Okay, so in such cases, the technical terms that we introduce are known as cut vertices. Okay, so what do I mean by cut vertices? Let us try to understand that. So often what happens that if you remove a vertex or an edge from a graph, the resultant subgraph will become disconnected and there will be more connected components. Okay, so such kind of vertices are known as cut vertices or articulation points. Okay, what is a cut vertex? Cut vertex is that vertex, if you remove that and the edges associated with it, it will make the graph disconnected. Okay, so a cut vertex is that vertex which splits the graph into subgraphs which have more connected components. Okay, so such graphs are also known as, or such vertices are also known as articulation points. Okay, so in general, when you remove a cut vertex from a connected graph, it produces a subgraph which may need not be connected. Okay, it's not a necessary. Okay, a lot of times it may happen that if you remove that graph, it may become a disconnected subgraph. Okay, like you can see in this case, if I remove this vertex, it will be a disconnected component with a single vertex. Okay, but often if you remove a sub vertex, a cut vertex, what may happen is that the resultant graphs that are produced are more than one component. So basically it disconnects the graph. Okay, it reduces the connectivity property of the graph. Okay, similarly, like we have cut vertices, okay, analogously we also have edges or cut edges, which are also known as bridges. Okay, what is a cut edge or a bridge? A cut edge or a bridge is that edge, if we remove that edge, the graph produces more connected components than the original graph. Okay, like you can see, if I remove this edge, this is a bridge edge. Okay, and the name bridge also comes from the fact that it connects to, it's the only source of connection between two nodes. Okay, so what is a cut vertex? Cut vertex is a vertex which on removal results in producing more connected components. Similarly, an edge which on removal produces more components is known as cut edge or bridge. Okay, and these cut edges or cut bridges, cut edges or cut vertices are something which are going to control your reliability. Okay, if you have more of the cut edges or bridges, means you are more unreliable, because that means you are able to split your graph very quickly. Okay, so if I give you a graph and I say there are say 3 cut edges or cut vertices versus a graph which has say 10 cut edges or vertices, which one is more reliable? See, I gave you first scenario where in the previous slide where one had no cut edge and second one had one cut edge. Okay, there directly you said that this was reliable because there is no scope of getting disconnected. But now I am changing the situation. I'm saying that both of them they are both vulnerable. Okay, they are not going to provide you multiple paths, and there are 3 possible vertices which if you remove them, it's going to get disconnected. Similarly, there are 10 possible vertices. If you remove any one of them, okay, it's going to get disconnected. So in this case, It's not a binary situation 0, 1. It's a 3 versus 10 situation. Which one would you say is a more reliable system? So it's like relative reliability. It's not completely reliable, but relatively. You have to choose between the two. Like suppose you are a CEO of a company and you have to choose one of these networks which have already been established. Which one would you prefer? None of them is completely reliable. Both of them have some weaknesses, but it has 3 such weak points. It has 10 such weak points. So which one would you prefer? Obviously the first one. Why? Because if you look at the probability of choosing this weakness, it is low in this compared to this, right? There are 10 possibilities of choosing a weak link, whereas in this case there are just 3. Okay, on relative sense, the first one is more reliable. It has some weaknesses, but compared to the number of weaknesses of second, it's still better. Okay, so what I want to highlight with this example is that it need not be a binary case, completely reliable versus unreliable. You can also have both unreliable situations and you may be asked to choose the better one. So which is the better one? Which has least number of such cut edges or cut vertices. Okay, is that clear? Is this clear? Okay, great. So now we know what is a cut vertex, we know what is a cut edge. Now coming back to our motivational example of the computer network. So if I link this cut vertex or cut edge back there, so basically what cut vertex or a cut edge means in terms of computer network is some device, some computer or some router which is essential. That means if you remove that key point, a key player, okay, the network is going to get dismantled. Similarly, cut edge or cut bridge is that essential link, which if that fails, then your computers cannot communicate. So your essential routers or essential links actually form your cut vertices or cut edges or bridges of your computer network. Right? Let's try to see and understand this with the help of an example. Okay, you need to find the cut vertices and cut edges in this graph. Okay, can you tell me? Firstly, let's see the easier one. What are the cut edges in the graph? Like one edge is a very clear cut edge or a bridge. Okay. The clear one is C, right? If you look at C, it's just going to make it separate two components, right? Similarly, that's fine. AB is also valid because if we remove the edge, this A will become a pendant vertex. Any other edge? Any other edge? What about cut vertices? Cut vertices means a vertex which you remove along with its edges, the graph will become disconnected. What do you think are the vertices which will make the graph disconnected when they are removed along with their edges? Very good. C is definitely one. Even E is one. Okay. So in general, your B, C, and E are your cut vertices because if you remove any one of them along with their edges, all of them are going to become disconnected. And your A, B, and C are your cut edges. Okay. So before I go ahead, let us see some more examples. Let me just construct some examples of very standard graphs. Okay, so suppose this is my graph, which is like a complete graph on 4 vertices. Okay, and I have this graph. Okay, this is normally known as a kite graph in standard terminology. And then I have another complete graph. This is known as a bolus graph. This one is your single edge is known as dumbbell graph. And a slight variation of this This is known as Bolus graph. Okay, these are like three very popular graphs, standard graphs. Like you have studied the standard graphs of, complete graph, mesh, star, and so on. Similarly, these are three standard graphs known as kite graph, dumbbell graph, and bolus graph. Kite graph is a KN graph, complete graph on n vertices, and there is a single edge connecting a pendant vertex. Okay. Similarly, dumbbell graph is two kn by 2 n by 2 graphs, that is two complete graphs connected by a single edge. And the bolus graph is again two complete graphs, kn by 3 n by 3 with a path graph. Okay, so instead of a single edge, there are n edges, n by 3 edges connecting the three. Okay, now in these scenarios, can you identify what are the cut edges? Okay, so kite graph is simple. This edge is the cut graph or the bridge, and dumbbell is also easy. This is the cut bridge. What about the bolus graph? Can you tell me what would be an ideal cut for this cut edge for the bolus graph? So these are like some of the standard disconnected graphs which are known in the literature. Whenever you have to do any analysis on connected components, you always have these examples. So can someone suggest what would be a good cut for bolus graph? Where there is not a single edge between the two complete graphs. There is a path of edges. Okay. So like if this is a graph vertex is on 4 edges, 4 nodes, this is on 4 nodes. So there are 4 nodes here as well. Right. What would be an ideal cut for bolus graph to separate it out, into two halves or disconnected components? Sorry, just join to kite means. So kite is a single edge, okay, but here bolus graph is a path of edges. There are, say, if you have bolus on say 12 vertices, so 4 of them will be in the path. So ideally what you would require is split the graph into two halves, right? And that's exactly the cut edge which most people suggest for the bolus graph. What you do, you choose the cut vertex as the vertex which is the middle of the path, okay, and split it there. So in that way, what it will turn up into will be two graphs which are equal in size. Okay, so this was just to highlight some of the common terminologies that we use in the disconnected components, and for which the finding the cut edges or cut vertices is much simpler, right? Okay, now let us continue on this discussion. So we saw that there are graphs which have weak points, like which if we remove them, the graphs become disconnected, right? Now let's talk about a special case where we know for sure the fact that not all graphs have cut vertices. Okay, so this is the fact that it's not universally true that all graphs are going to have some form of cut vertices. Okay, there are graphs like complete graphs where greater than 3 vertices, where there are no cut vertex. Okay, let's try to reason out whether this is true or not. So let's choose complete graph on 4 vertices. Okay, so this is K4. If I remove a vertex, say, let me name it A, B, C, D. If I remove vertex A from it, what is the resultant? Do I get a disconnected graph? What do we get? There's something special which we get if we remove a graph. If we remove a vertex along with its edges. What is the resultant graph? Yes, try to remove it and see. So I remove A and 3 of its edges. Triangle. But what is triangle? Triangle is actually K3, right? It's a complete graph on 3 vertices. Okay. So complete graph is the perfect example of a graph where there are no cut vertices, because in this graph, if you ever remove any one of the vertex and its associated edges, it's always going to give you another connected graph. Okay. So in general, for a complete graph or n vertices, if you remove a cut vertex or not cut vertex, a vertex with along with its edges, it's always going to give you a connected component only, but with n minus 1 vertices. If you remove 2, it will give kn minus 2. But the connectivity of the graph is not broken. Okay, and what is the reason behind that? The reason behind that is in complete graph, you have a dedicated edge between all pair of nodes. So when you remove a vertex, only that dedicated edge is removed, but the other connectivity remains unaffected. Okay, such graphs, such connected graphs which have no cut vertices are known as non-separable graphs. Okay, and why non-separable? Because no matter how many vertices you remove, okay, as long as your n is greater than or equal to 3, you are not going to get any disconnected components in this. Like, it's an assurity that when you remove any vertex from the complete graph, along with its associated edges, you're not going to end up separating them. Okay, so this is one of the universal facts that it's not true that all graphs have cut vertices. Okay, there are graphs which have the best connectivity, like complete graphs, which on removal of vertices do not become disconnected. Okay, such graphs are known as non-separable graphs. So now, why non-separable graphs are important? Okay, now consider you are a network design engineer and you want to create a backbone network. Okay, so backbone network means something on which your entire network is going to rely on. Okay, normally all the companies have their backbone networks, backbone infrastructure made up of optic fiber, okay, to support very high bandwidth. Now, if you as a design engineer are asked what should be the graph or what should be the topology in which you should arrange your backbone network. Okay, now keep in mind all the parameters. You not only have to ensure that there's a path between all the vertices, but you also have to ensure that the backbone network is reliable. So what would be your general answer? What kind of graph should we choose as our backbone graph? Okay, backbone means entire thing of your network is dependent on it. So not only your communication part, but your reliability factor should also be the highest. So what kind of graphs would you choose in that scenario? Complete graph, or in general you may say non-separable graphs. Okay, because any non-separable graph is a graph which has no cut vertices. Okay, so that is like connecting it directly to our practical application. That is where non-separable graphs are important, where you need extra level of reliability. There is no scope of having a failure. Okay, is this clear, the non-separable graphs and where they are used? Yes, class, is this clear, the concept of non-separable graph? Class, here, yes or no, is this clear? Okay, great. Okay, so let us now move on to the connectedness. So far we have been studying the connectivity issues in undirected graphs. Okay, now let us try to move to the connectedness part in the directed graph. How do directed graphs, behave when we talk about connectivity in the graph? Okay, so in general, directed graphs have slightly more complicated notion of connectivity. Okay, there are in general two notions of connectivity in directed graphs, depending on the fact that whether you consider the direction of edges or you ignore them. Okay, so let us see what are the two notions of connectivity in the directed graph. The first notion of connectivity is known as strongly connected graph. Okay, what we are saying, and the first notion of connectivity is known as strong connectivity, or the resultant graph is known as strongly connected graph. Okay, when do we say that? We say that a graph is strongly connected if there is a path from vertex A to B and from B to A as well, whenever A and B are vertices in a graph. That means if you are given a graph, there is a path from, and if you are given, suppose, any graph, okay, and suppose there is a edge between any pair of, there's a path from any pair of vertices, then a reverse path is also there. Okay, so that means you are considering the direction. So you are saying that if I consider the directed edges, and if there's a path from any pair of vertices, the reverse path is also available. Okay, such kind of graphs are known as strongly connected graphs, because you see that there's a way to reach between any pair of vertices in both the directions, despite of the fact that it's a directed graph. Okay, so a strongly connected graph is one in which is between all pairs of vertices you have a path in both directions. Okay, but this is something which is, very expensive in the sense of edges, because this would mean you have an edge or a connectivity route between all pairs of paths. Okay, so this is normally not very popularly seen in directed graphs. Okay, so that's why the mathematicians came with another weaker notion of connectivity in directed graphs, which is known as weakly connected graph. Okay, now what is a weakly connected graph? A directed graph is said to be weakly connected if there is a path between every two vertices in the underlying undirected graph. Okay, so what you do in weakly connected scenario, you ignore the notion of direction. Okay, now what you say is, even though the edge is from A to B, suppose, okay, but what you do, you ignore the direction and assume that the path is from B to A also. Okay, so what we just require in weakly connected is that there should be a path, okay, no matter what is its direction, right? So you can see where it can be practically useful. Okay, can anyone suggest where it could be practically useful? That we have a graph where there are directed edges, but when we look at the weakly connected notion, we just try to see there exists a path. Where could it be useful? Yes, class, where could it be useful? Am I audible? I'm audible, right? Okay. Okay. So today there's a network issue, so I'm doubtful whether you are able to hear me or not. Okay. So any practical example? See, I can give you a very straight off practical example. See, when we have modeled any network as a directed graph, okay, that means I am fixing the direction of any edge, okay. So that means there is a link between the two vertices, okay. So at least there is a link, okay. That means in future there is a possibility I can change the direction of link, but what I am currently interested in, at least there is a link. What is its direction? I'm not interested in that. See, having no link between A and B versus having a directed link, it makes some sense. There is no path existing between the two nodes, but here there is a path, but it's one way. It's like our roads. If we have a one-way road, okay, at least there's a road between two places. Okay, that means in the worst case or emergency case, I can use that for two-way as well, right? But if I don't have a road at all, there's no comparison between the two scenarios, right? That is why in directed settings, they move to this weakly notion, because having a path, whether its direction is correct or not, it can be used in emergency scenarios for the other direction as well. Okay, at least for the practical scenarios. So these were the two notions that were discussed for connectivity in the directed graph. First is known as a strongly connected notion, which means there is a path in both directions between all pair of vertices. And second one is that there is a path between every pair of vertices, assuming that we have not considered the direction. Okay, so automatically every strongly connected graph is automatically weakly connected also, because if you have a full-fledged path in both directions, it obviously means weakly connected also is true, because for weakly connected you just require a path, right? So every strongly connected graph is automatically weakly connected also, but vice versa is not possible. Every weakly connected cannot be a strongly connected unless you have the reverse path for everyone, right? Is this direction clear? Every weakly connected, every strongly connected is a weakly connected graph as well. Yes, class, this is clear. Why is it so? Because weakly connected just requires a path without a direction, right? And strongly connected already has a path in both directions. Do you understand the relation? Okay, just understand that when we come to weakly connected notion, we are just ignoring the direction. Okay, so what we are assuming is in undirected, as I had told you when we had a discussion about directed and undirected graph, undirected edge is equivalent to having edges in both directions. Okay, that is what we are using in this notion. Okay, now let us try to see the examples and see if you can say whether these are strongly connected, whether they are weakly connected. First let us see graph G. Is it a strongly connected graph? How do you check that? You see that there's a path between all pairs of vertices. Okay, let's pick up A. A has a path to B, A has a path to C, A has a path to D, A has a path to E. Okay, similarly pick up B and do it for all vertices and see if there is a path from every vertex to every other vertex. Yes, class. So is G a strongly connected graph? What you require is, you require a path between all pairs of vertices in both directions. Okay, like for A, we saw that there's a path. Okay, but we need to see that reverse path is also there. Okay, so we can see E can reach to A, B can also reach to A, C can also reach to A, D can also reach to A. Okay, similarly, that means A has path in both directions. Similarly, do it for B. So you can see B can reach to A, B can reach to C, D, E. A can reach to all. Okay, so B is also done. Do it for all the vertices and tell me whether it's strongly connected or not. Okay, you need a path from A to B, B to A to C, C to A to D, D to A to E, E to A, and then similarly for B, C, D, and E. G is strongly connected. So can I say it's also weakly connected? So G is actually strongly connected. You can verify yourself one by one. Can I say it's also weakly connected? Yes, right? Because for weakly connected, I just ignore the edges and then you can directly see there's a path between all of them. Okay, what about H? Why? Can you tell me what is the weak spot directly? It is a weakly, it is not strongly connected for sure. Can you tell me where is the weak point? At least one of the weak points where there is no path. Very good. Everything is going into A. There is no path from A to B. So definitely vertex is that weak point and it does not have a connectivity to other points, right? But if I have to say weakly connected, is it weakly connected? For that, I just have to ignore the directions and see that there's an edge, right? Is it weakly connected? Yes, it is weakly connected, right? Because if you ignore the direction of edges, then you have an edge between all pairs of vertices, right? So G is strongly connected because there's a path between any two pairs of vertices in both directions. And if it is strongly connected, means automatically it's also weakly connected, right? But in case of graph H, it's not strongly connected because there's no path coming out from A, but it is weakly connected because if you ignore the direction, there exists a path between any two of the vertices. Okay, is this notion of strong and weak connectivity clear to everyone? Yes, class, is this clear? Okay, great. Okay, so now we come to another interesting feature about directed graphs. So if you recall, yesterday when we considered undirected graphs, okay, there we considered the notion of connected graph, where there was a path between any pair of vertices. Okay, and if there was some vertex where there was no path, we said that it was disconnected, right? But when we looked at disconnected, what we started looking at, if we have a disconnected graph, what did we start looking at? We tried to look at connected components. That means subgraphs which are at least connected. Okay, the whole graph is not connected, but at least the components are connected. Okay, same notion continues in directed graphs also. Okay, one is you can have a strongly connected graph, okay, wherein you say that every pair of vertices has a path in both directions. Or if it's not strongly connected, then we move to something called strong components. Okay, let us see now what are the strong components. The subgraphs of the directed graph G that are strongly connected themselves, okay, but not contained in any strongly connected graph are known as maximal strongly connected subgraphs, or these are the terms which are known as your strongly connected components or strong components. Okay, so let me again revisit the technical definition and try to make you understand. So what we are dealing with is a graph, a directed graph G, okay, which is not itself, strongly connected. Okay, what does it mean? It means that there does not exist a pair of paths in both directions for all the pair of vertices. Okay, it's not itself strongly connected, but it is weakly connected. Okay, now if I extract some subgraph from it, which in itself is strongly connected, okay, that means at least the vertices which are part of this subgraph, V prime, E prime, those vertices have pair of edges in both the directions. Okay, so such kind of a strongly connected such kind of a subgraph, strongly connected subgraph, is what is known as strong component. Okay, so what is a strong component? Strong component is that is subgraph of a directed graph which is not itself strongly connected, but the resultant subgraph has strong connectivity properties. Okay, like if you see in this graph, can you tell me one of the subgraphs which is strongly connected? At least one which can be very easily figured it out here. Any one component? Exactly, BCD. If you look at BCD, you can see that if you look at just this BCD component, there's a path between every pairs of vertices. You have BCD, CDB. You can reach to every pair of vertices. Okay, this kind of component is known as strongly connected component. Okay, but you can see the original graph was not strongly connected. Okay, and this has very strong notions in practical examples. Okay, so is this clear? What is a strong component? Yes, class, quickly, we have a exam at 11, so I'll be relieving you quickly. So let me know, is this clear to everyone? What is a strong component? Okay, so strong component is basically nothing but a subgraph of a directed graph which was not originally itself strongly connected, but if we extract that component, it has a strong connectivity property. That means you have a path between all pair of vertices in both the directions. Okay, such components are what we call as strong components. Okay, so let me end today's class with the application of the strong connected components. Okay, for that, if you look at web graph, okay, web graph has a very important application in terms of strong components. Okay, so what is a web graph? Web graph is a graph wherein you model all the web pages on the World Wide Web as vertices and the links between them. Like we have one web page, it has a hyperlink to another web page. So if any web page points to another web page, we have a link between them. Okay, so automatically the links are directed edges because every page may not have a link to every other page. Okay, so like if I have a home page, it has a link to some other page. Okay, but we may not have the reverse link always. So that's why it's modeled as a directed graph. Now, if you look at a snapshot of web, okay, that time web graph was relatively small. Now it's like huge. So at 1999, some of the researchers had tried to model this web graph, and they noticed that there was about 200 million vertices already and over 1.5 billion edges. Okay, what they tried to do, they tried to look at the underlying undirected graph of web graph. Okay, and the first thing that they found was it's not connected. Okay, so forget about the notion of strong connectivity. Okay, the graph was not even weakly connected, because what is weakly connected? Weakly connected means if you ignore the directions, then there should be a path between all pair of vertices. Okay, but what they found out was when they look at the undirected version, okay, just to ensure that it's at least weakly connected, the web graph was not so, which is expected, right? Because if you have 200 million vertices, it's not a surety that every page has a link to every other page. A lot of times we see web pages which do not point to any other web page, right? So in that sense, they found that web graph was not connected. Okay, so all the kind of analysis that they had to do on web, they thought how to do that. Okay, and that is where the notion of connected component emerged. Okay, so what they said, that they found that although there are some pendant cases, pendant vertices where the graph is separated from the rest of the graph by a single edge or maybe by two or three edges, but 90% of the vertices are always in the connected component. Most of the edges, they form a clutter together, and there are very few outliers who are not connected. Okay, so what they did, they considered the subgraph of that connected component. Okay, and that is what they technically called giant strongly connected component of this graph. And all the analysis that has been done on World Wide Web to understand its pattern, to understand its growth in all these past 2 decades, it has all been done on that component. Okay, and now you can see why strongly connected component is important. Okay, because most of these practical graphs, most of their volume is contained in that portion. So if you want to do generalize anything for the entire graph, it's a good use case to try that out on the graph. Okay, so why I am very much, I keep on going on this applications is because if you look at the data analytic domain, which is like very trending thing in ITCS sector these days, all of those sectors deal with practical graphs. You have a practical data set where your graphs are modeled. In all such components, you will always find that they are not connected. Okay, in such components, the notion of having connected components is very important because all your analysis finally reduces to those components. Okay, is this application clear? The motivation example. I'll stop there. We'll continue with this notion in tomorrow's class. Any